Let's go live to Alberta right now, and our reporter Julia Wong, who's one of our excellent CBC News team in the fire zone, bringing us the stories right outside the Brazeau County office, north of Drayton Valley, which is west of Edmonton, if we can situate it that. And Julia, welcome. We've been focusing this morning on Brazeau County because we heard about what is happening to the 7,200 or so people who have been evacuated. What's the very latest?
So, Heather, residents have just been told that they will not be allowed back into the town of Drayton Valley, back into parts of the nearby county that were evacuated for at least another week. Now, these residents have been out of this area for a little bit more than a week after wildfire started to rage nearby. We were here on the scene when that happened. You could see those bright orange flames, those plumes of heavy smoke. Now, since that time, the fire around here, which is now called the Buck Creek Fire, that has grown to almost 50 square kilometers. So bigger than Charlottetown for our Western Canadian viewers. That's bigger than Moose Jaw. And at least 4 homes have been destroyed because of this wildfire. Now, this is going to be tough news for residents to swallow. And I say that because residents in nearby counties over the last few days, they have been allowed back into their homes, back to their property. So I think many were expecting that that could potentially be the case here, but definitely not. So difficult news for them to process. But what the county is saying is that the situation here remains volatile, and they say they also want to ensure that they have the services back up and running by the time residents do come back in. So when this town was evacuated, I mean, we're talking about hospitals, we're talking about grocery stores, pharmacies, that type of thing. So the town and county are saying they want to make sure all those services are back up and running for when those residents do eventually return.
It is extraordinary, that information, but also the backdrop, Julia. We can see the smoke in the air, and that's a big factor, too. We're even hearing this morning of multi-vehicle collisions east of Edmonton this morning. We've also been talking about the heat dome and the wind and the hot, dry conditions. What do things look like for the next few days as far as the situation goes?
Yes, Heather, so all those things that you just mentioned, those are why everyone is concerned. I do, again, just want to point out the smoke that you see here behind me. We are smelling it. It is quite strong. That smoke, that moisture in the air, it's really mixing up, creating some different difficult visibility conditions on those roads. And the sun right over here to my right, it's just starting to rise. You can start to feel that heat. What we are expecting, the forecast is saying that those temperatures over the next few days, they're going to rise to 30 degrees. And that is about 10 to 15 degrees higher than seasonal temperatures. So the smoke, the temperatures, those gusty conditions, that is why everyone is really worried about what's going to be happening with these fires, whether they will be able to keep some of them under control or whether that is just going to cause them to flare up and get even bigger. So people are going to be paying very particular attention to what's happening there. Also, we're going to be keeping an eye on the Canadian Armed Forces. As you were mentioning just a little bit earlier, we are seeing hundreds of those members come into Alberta, being spread out across the province to 3 different communities, including right here in Drayton Valley, here behind me. We know they're going to be helping out with firefighting duties, engineering support, airlift, and they will be on the ground in Alberta for at least 2 weeks. And right now, really, it's all hands on deck to try to get these wildfires under control.
Julia, I appreciate that so much and all of the reporting this week. Thank you. Live, again, just north of Drayton Valley in Alberta. So that is the situation on the ground as Julia is experiencing it and reporting on it. Let's bring you some further information now. My guest is Melissa Story, who's an information officer with Alberta Wildlife, and she's in Edmonton today. Melissa, thank you very much for being our guest.
Thanks for having me.
I was mentioning the status, the latest numbers that I had, 74 active wildfires with 20 out of control. Is there an update to those numbers at all? Any new information?
No, that's correct. As of this morning, there are 74 wildfires burning in the province. 20 of them are listed out of control. So far this season, we've seen over 430 wildfires that have burned almost 450,000 hectares of land.
And just to help us understand that, that is much worse, much earlier, is it not, Melissa, than the usual fire season?
It is. Our 5-year average for this time of year is around 225 wildfires that burned about 11,000 hectares. So we are substantially higher than what we typically see this time of year.
It's causing all sorts of challenges. The smoke that we were seeing behind Julia just there, east of Edmonton in Strathcona County, we're hearing this morning, Melissa, of multi-vehicle collisions, at least 2, and the RCMP are saying don't even travel along Highway 21 because of impaired visibility, because of the smoke. How much of a concern is that to you, and what do people need to know about the smoke specifically?
Smoke is a huge concern to us, especially with our firefighting efforts. It disables us from being on the ground. It grounds our aircraft, so it's a challenge for us. We do see inversions this time of year, so when the temperatures are what they are and it's chillier in the morning, the smoke gets trapped closer to the ground and it can reduce visibility.
So we'll watch that. The weather that's coming in, the hot, dry conditions, how is that likely to affect things?
We're definitely going to see the wildfire danger elevate over the weekend. We are expecting warmer temperatures. We've had a reprieve over the last couple of days, which has been nice. It's allowed our firefighters to get in and action some hot spots. We've been able to use our tankers. We've been able to fly over the wildfires because the smoke has been a little bit settled over the last couple of days, but that will change over the weekend. We've got over 1,500 people on the ground working on this wildfire. We've brought in resources from across the country, from the United States. We're expecting more. The Canadian military is also helping us out. So we've got a lot of support behind us, but we are definitely in for a challenging weekend.
Is there more you can access if the conditions worsen to the degree that we're expecting?
Yeah, we have a request in for another additional 1,000 resources to come and join us, firefighters and support staff. We work with the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre here in Canada to help us organize those resources and get us the support that we need.
You know, as much as you have these resources on the ground, you just said 1,500 people responding and the military adding to that number over the next couple of days. Something that we're hearing, Melissa, from people who've lost so much, people to whom we're speaking, our reporters are speaking, and we're hearing in articles as well and reporting elsewhere that people are concerned that they don't feel anyone's coming to help, or they're coming to help, but it's been a very slow response. And that's why they're even staying in the face of danger to protect their own properties. How do you respond to that criticism?
Our number one priority is human lives in Albertans and their communities. We're doing everything that we can to protect them, and we're just doing everything we can. We're working closely with the Alberta Emergency Management Agency. They are providing supports for folks on the ground. Anyone who has any questions can definitely reach out to them directly. They have a hotline set up. The number is 310-4455. They're also hosting town halls for evacuees in the evening. So if they have questions or concerns, they can definitely reach out. I know that our local politicians are involved in that, as well as some of our experts here in the field.
Okay. We'll make sure they get that information. It's certainly a part of the story that we're covering right now. I'm wondering, if I could, just before I let you go, you're in Edmonton. What can you tell us about the air quality there, just what you're experiencing in the capital?
There's a bit of a haze over us here in the capital. It looks like it's burning off with the sun coming out. As Julia said, things are starting to warm up and we're just getting amped up for the weekend to come.
Bracing for what is in store, it sounds like. Melissa, thank you for that information. I do appreciate it very much today.
Thank you.